Hello, Interloper here. Today I'm going to be talking about Blood Brothers, in particular, the Special Dungeons event. Now, as you may already know, all the Blood Brothers events go on a rotation. There are 3 different events. There's the PvP, the Special Dungeons, and the Raid event. Actually, I believe that it goes PvP, Raid, and then Special Dungeons. Either way, they're on a constant rotation. So even though I'm talking about the most recent Special Dungeons, and the footage will be from the most recent one, this applies to all Special Dungeon events, because technically they are all the same, except with different bosses, different rewards, and so on and so forth. But they all work basically the same. If this does change, I will be making a new video. So until then, this is valid. So I'm going to begin by saying that Special Dungeons is an event where you really will not get far unless you have a 5 familiar team. And even then, you won't do very well. You need a 10 familiar team, which basically means you need a full front line and rear line of a 5 familiar team. But for people who still want to participate in this, you still can. I'll just explain to you which tower you should choose. But basically there are 3 towers, and you go into the towers, you progress through the levels or zones, and you beat bosses. And at the top level, or 5th level of each, you can start capturing the bosses. Now, one thing that you should know when you're beginning is that each of these towers has a different difficulty. Now, in the beginner tower, you'll be fighting 3 familiars. Advanced, a 4 familiar team, and expert, a 5 familiar team. As I said before, you will not get far in this event, ranking-wise, unless you go into the expert tower, 5 familiars, and even then you probably will need 10. So, let's just begin with some basics. A little bit about the differences between these towers. Now, as you go through these towers, and you kill and capture things, you will get points. But really, the main goal, at least in my own opinion, is to defeat the bosses, and possibly capture them. So, in the Novice Tower and the Squire's Tower, which is beginners and advanced here, you will find these guys. And they are both uncommon, and have 4 different forms, 4 stars that can be filled up, and they do turn into rares. These are not really worthy of being heart's blooded, or however you'd say it. You want to use your blood meal on it, because honestly they aren't really worth using a heart's blood on. You want to save that for the big guy. And if you aren't up to that level where you can go into the expert tower and catch this guy, just save your heart's blood, or use it to buy something nice on the bazaar. It's really not worth it wasting it on these guys. But if you have no choice, try to catch these. They can be rather good familiars if you're a starter, but don't use the heart's blood. Now, the Knight's Tower, which is the expert tower, is what I'm going to focus mainly on, because that is where you get the good familiar. And you can capture this boss through zones 5 to 10. That's because the expert tower, the tower in the middle, the 5 familiar tower, has 10 levels. Even though these look like they're different sizes, they both only have 5 floors. It's the expert tower that has 10 floors. Now, the cool thing about the Knight's Tower, or expert tower, is the fact that you can capture the boss on zone 5, floor 5, however you want to call it, and you'll have a 5% chance of catching it with a blood meal. 10th floor, however, you have a 10% chance. That means every floor above 5 you go, every step of the way adds on 1%. So, in other words, even if you are to use blood meals, you still have a chance of catching this guy. Now, the reason why catching this guy is important is because it gives you points. And I'm going to show you actually a video here of me getting points and showing off what the tower looks like on the inside. So let me click play here, and I got the special dungeon screen, and I'm going to choose the advanced dungeon simply because my demonstration account isn't very good. So That's the enemies in the zone. And even though this looks extremely easy, these familiars are made special just for the tower. So it's not your typical corpse balloon and slime dude. They are actually much stronger than you might imagine. So here I have my demonstration count, and I'm going to automatically configure my brigade because I ultimately do want 2 rows, front line and a back line, of familiars that I can use. I'll explain why that's so important later. But for now, I'm going to show you. Now, as I go in here, I'm on the first floor, and I'm not really going to show you too much because it's pretty simple. Every 2 steps you take, you will run into an enemy, which you'll fight. And first floor is fairly easy, but you can see right off the bat, these guys on the first floor of the advanced tower have about 2,400 HP, something like that. And here we go, we have a vanquish bonus, so you do get a bonus for killing them, and you also would for capturing them. So this is finally a proper use for your blood meals. I'm sure you probably have a few hundred if you're quite a crazy Blood Brothers fan. And so those are added on to your total, and those are ultimately added on to your event total over here. And you do get rewards. Unfortunately, the rewards aren't really great. You'll get elixirs, which actually will be helpful later on, but nothing too spectacular. Now, I'm going to just fast forward through here and show you what I meant by these familiars being made special. But I will use a blood meal, and I'll try to capture them. And I do capture 1. So now I'll show you here. Corpse Balloon plus. Everything has a plus after it because they aren't your regular Corpse Balloon or whatever familiar it is. They actually have their stats changed. They cannot be evolved, and their skills are usually changed as well. So this Corpse Balloon might have it could have recall for all I know. They do have their skills switched because they're made difficult just for this dungeon. And of course, one thing to note is as you go higher in the tower, go to the different zones, they will get progressively harder. And even though, you know, might be fighting something that's fairly easy in the normal story mode, remember, these are altered. Their stats are altered, so they cannot be evolved, and their stats are pretty much all crazy. As you can see here, Corpse Balloon Plus, they have higher stats, and they have different abilities. So I'm going to continue here and show you the capture bonus. So depending on what you catch and how many things you catch, you get a bonus. So basically, you kill things and you capture them, and then later you can use them for the Right of Blood Brothers or release them for some gold, although I'm pretty sure you're flooded with gold at this point, since gold can't be used for anything. So that's basically how it works. You'll be going through the different zones and killing things and capturing things. So, while elixirs and sage will be important because things get progressively tougher the higher up you go in the tower, you also will probably be using mandrakes if you want to stay within the top ranks. Another thing to note is the fact that killing the boss will give you significantly more points, as well as capturing the boss. So, in order to rank high, you do need Heart's Bloods. And, I will quickly go into showing you stuff about the bosses. So, as I explained earlier, on level 5, you'll actually be able to capture the boss. But, you do get points for just killing the boss as well. But capturing the bosses, of course, gives you the capture bonus, which actually adds a lot of points onto your rank. Now, another really important thing is the fact that most bosses that are introduced for special dungeons, as the tower boss on the expert tower, are actually pretty good. This was the most recent one, Agrius Walking Dead. And as you can see here, these two stats over here, attack and agility, are both around 2,000. Usually when you see something like that on a 1-star rare that isn't leveled, you know that if you take an 8-star perfect evolution of this particular familiar, those stats that are about 2,000 will be 10,000 or higher when they're fully evolved. So that's kind of like a rough estimate and way how to gauge certain familiars. Other ones in the past have had the same sort of thing going on, like Queen Lamia. Let me quickly skip through here. There's one that's unmaxed. But see, HP is over 2,000, Wisdom is over 2,000, and when it's fully evolved perfectly, can't actually go through here, can I? Somebody must have it maxed. Nope, they don't. I'm gonna actually just, excuse me, it actually won't let me get out of this advertisement, which is really annoying. Let me go back. Sorry about the interruption, but I'm gonna zoom in on the stats over here. So that's the perfect stats. So you can see my estimate was pretty on the spot here. Over 2,000 will give you over 10,000 when fully maxed. So these guys tend to be pretty good, and their stats fairly good. Their abilities, of course, are different for every single event, and I'll quickly show you another past one, because this one has Brawl, and the one before this one was Feeric Iceblood, and he has Icicle, which is kind of like Fire Strike, but with ice. And he has high, what's it called? Wisdom. So they usually have fairly good stats. So they can be worth it getting. You know, it's pretty easy to get 8 Heart's Bloods off of the bazaar just from selling random stuff. And then you could usually make an 8 perfect if needed be. But they can be pretty good to add to your team. Now, speaking of teams, last but not least, what you want to do is have 2 viable rows of familiars, because as you go higher in the expert tower, it's going to get a lot tougher. And you might be like, okay, it can't be that tough because the first floor was really easy. Trust me, it gets really tough. The familiars will hit almost as much as 5,000 each. It'll be kind of like PvPing. So unless you have a really good front line, you will most likely need to switch in your back line. And so as you're going through, one of your guys might get hurt. And of course you could use Sage, but let's say they're hurt just maybe 25%. What you can do is you can then switch your front line guy with your back line guy. And for every step you take with an injured familiar in your backline, that familiar will recover 5% hit points. So, by using that method, you can usually hold off on using Sage, and of course having your guys die. You really don't want to be foolish and let your guys die left and right, because those elixirs do add up, especially if you're going to rank high in the event. In that case, you really want to save your elixirs and Sages, because you're probably going to be doing the top floor again and again. So switching them out for healing and then switching them back in usually helps a lot. Of course, if you're getting hit a lot, it won't even matter, because your guy will be dead before you know it. You'll switch it in, and by the time this guy gets hurt, you'll switch back, have 2 injured guys. But one thing that I usually do, and I can't really display it with this demonstration account, is I usually group my guys together. So if I have 2 guys with Massive Assault, I'll put one here and put the other one in the back row. AoE guy with the AoE guy in the back. And then what I'll do is, of course, I will probably have one Massive Assault guy, which will be better than the other one. I'll try to keep the better ones kind of back and forth, because I don't want one really good team and then one really bad team. Let's say my whole good team gets decimated, and then I gotta switch in the bad guys for backup. These bad guys will get killed faster than my front line. So I kind of want to keep my teams even, you know, switch it in, switch it out if these guys all get killed. So that way, especially when you fight the boss the boss on the 10th level is extremely difficult. You probably will have your whole front line get killed and have to go back and kill him again. So usually in that case, I mix up my team, so I will have a decent team for both tries. Kind of complicated, but that's one way how to really succeed in this, is just to think strategically about your placement. And you don't just want to charge headlong in with a not so great team or with no backup, because you really won't get very far. Or you'll be using sages left and right and elixirs and all that fun stuff. And what really sucks is when eventually you do run out of elixirs and you realize you can't go further in this event. That's a bummer. Don't have that happen to you. So, lastly, I will go over the rewards for high ranking. Of course, like all events, there will be a legendary involved. The most recent special dungeon that occurred did have the actual first legendary that could be evolved, a 2-stage legendary. So in the future, there probably will be more of these, and maybe even legendaries that can be evolved further. But I'm going to go see. The ranking things aren't really that great. You will get elixirs and shades and crystals, but nothing amazing. Ranking, what was I trying to show here? There we go. So, for ranking pretty high, you can get another rare familiar. This tends to be pretty good. And then, see here, the top 100 get at least one legendary, with the top 30 getting 2. And then from 1 to 2,000th place, excuse me, my alarm's going off, sorry about that. But yeah, from 1 to 2,000 you have a chance of getting the rare guy. And remember, this rare guy will not be the boss that you encounter in the towers. So, even if you don't rank too high, you get something nice, like silver coins, a crystal set, some fairly good stuff. And, so, usually what I do, now I'm just saying what I do in these events, is I get my 8 bosses, and then I give it a rest, because I know I really won't go very far in this. Oh boy, I almost forgot one of the most important things, Rift of Worlds. Can't believe I almost went over that. As you are going, once in a while you will encounter a Rift of Worlds, which is kind of like a point bonus on a PvP event. You might have seen that before. But basically, you have about a few minutes where you will find Rift of Worlds. Actually, let me show that to you guys, because it's a lot easier to explain. And what Rift of Worlds are extremely easy to kill familiars, and those give an extra capture bonus, although they're very hard to capture. You do not want to waste Heart's Blood on these guys, trust me. They're definitely not as much as a boss. You don't want to capture them. They also have absolutely no use whatsoever. But they will use Blade Break, which is a little bit annoying, but they're very easy to kill. They're pretty much one-hit kill, and they will add a little bit of speed to your killing, and they also give a higher vanquishing bonus. So that's pretty much all you need to know about it. Sorry about that. Can't believe I almost forgot about it. But yeah, what I usually do is I go through, get 8 of the bosses with Heart's Blood, and then I pretty much stop, because I know I will never be able to rank high in this. It's a very competitive event, and unless you have a lot of Heart's Bloods, you will not get very far. Now, if you've been hoarding Heart's Bloods and Mandrakes also, so you can progress in the tower faster, get to the 10th floor as quick as possible, you'll do pretty well. So if you do want to prepare for this event, remember Heart's Bloods and Mandrakes, with Heart's Bloods being the emphasis, because you will get a massive amount of points for capturing the 10th floor boss in the Expert Tower. So that's pretty much all you need to know about special dungeons. Like I said, it goes on a rotation, special dungeons, PvP, and then we have the raid boss event. So, in my next little event thing, I will go over PvP. So, until next time. Oh boy.